that's fine. Put the mic down.
Friend to friend.
Entertain the crowd to help you guys have a great day.
Yeah, that's it. I could never have it. It's only got 2 foot. Yeah, no
Hancock's getting arrested. Monday or Tuesday. Where is BBC? Where is BBC? This is true. He hides. I want.
It's not. This is a free organization.
BBC don't want to see the truth of war. Fuck COVID, this is live. All media are called. And I think it's moment for people. You take red pills, you know red pills in Matrix? Don't take blue pills, take red pills and wake up. We want free. We are free, we are no slave. Mask is mark of the beast. No? Thank you.
Charge over, I used it, charged it,
Man, I said so. I said
I've been trying to sort out application and it didn't work. All of it stopped working. I will do it in 2 parts.
Alright, it's working again.
Oh!
It's working again. Oh, you are blessed.
Oh, we got one.
Yeah, it's working, man. It needs a resetting. Remember, we're live streaming. I go on YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube friendly.
Stop, yeah.
Box date.
420 again.
And I was like, would you say
Right, like rap boy.
Mate, you right?
Tired.
Yeah, my legs are.
Well, I'll sit with it if you want. I don't want to walk and get you a drink. I'll sit with it. Because I ain't going to get out. I might chat on. Leave it play and I'll tune into your channel and.
What do you reckon, lads? How many people? I have no idea.
Well, one of the boys just filmed start to finish. He had 33 minutes, and I didn't know it, but I filmed it and I had 27. But I don't know what point he done it at.
About half an hour.
Yeah, 27 minutes solid I had, and he had 33. That's a lot, mate. That's a lot. He was solid.
It's got hundreds of thousands.
I would say so.
About 100, yeah.
Piers Corbin's on his way.
Massive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I seen him at the gates of Peter's Gate over there. When I walked past in here about an hour ago. He's definitely here. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go on subject.
Why more than last time? Last
I'm moving with this. I'm just going to change the angle for a bit. Got some beats over there. Afternoon chat.
Always a pleasure, mate.
Can you hear me? You've got me for 5 minutes. Sam's going to drink. Are you doing Lisa? Bertic, you've got the Welsh man at the moment.
Oh, there's a goal just
He's just going to get a drink. I think Sam's getting himself in here. got Hyde over there.
against the Commissioner of Police.
Giving a bit of a speech, so I don't know where she'll go over there. I've just got it. It's a far left, but it's excellent. Sorry. It's huge today, everyone.
When I come to see the corner,
Get together with it. Hyde Park is going to be flat out tonight.
they might gather a crowd.
Trying to bear with it.
Yeah, well, I've got the battery in my hand and everything.
Everybody bearing with it.
Yeah, it's cool with it.
Where's subject access?
What's that?
Where's subject access?
He's going to get himself a drink. I say, oh, look at your camera equipment. I ain't
You
walking.
said to bear with it.
Yeah, I'm not walking.
Bear with it. Is everybody bearing it?
I've got beer.
Yeah, we can bear with it. Beer. Beer with it.
It's going to be huge today, isn't it, Emmy?
Yeah, beer with it. Guys, beer with it.
Has he got to get beers or not?
Well, if you're going to get some beers, I'll give you some cash. Buffering. Buffering. Hello, Papa. Oh, it's stiff. Go down on it.
That's all that.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Let's get a shot. Let me get a shot of something.
Browns. Come on the Browns, do this.
There it is. Good spot, Sam. Come on.
Thanks, mate. Jesus, it's massive.
I've got a bottle over if you want it.
I'll give it a little bit. I'll give it a little bit too much commentary as I do.
Sure.
Is that enough?
How'd you send us three loads?
I don't mind over it. For a while, but they're big, right?
Yeah, it's the rest of it.
That's the best thing about a
If
tripod.
you want to, I'll keep the stream going to within a half hour. I'll guarantee a half hour.
Yeah, don't mind, mate.
Yeah, no problem. All thing I want to do is get that battery a bit higher on my body, so
Yeah.
I need to put it on my waist, don't I? You're going to... Yeah, I know, I was going to go over there and the backpack was here, see?
Should we open your one, mate? Should we open yours? Yeah.
And to rule over the people through dictatorial means for a year, constantly increasing and increasing the pressure. Like a psychiatric ward, the whole country, and indeed, I'll come on to this, most of the world, has been treated like a psychiatric ward over the last year. And this is a product of a particular correlation of historical, technological and scientific forces. This is a product of the development of the internet that initially allowed us to think that the internet was a mechanism, a tool for communication between each other, that would liberate us and allow us to communicate with more people, to establish greater connections, to do things like what they called the Arab Spring in 2010, when the Arab people rose up against dictators. But in fact, what happened was, with each advance in technology, large multinational companies seized control of the market and control of the technology itself. And now, you know, when a year ago, when Piers Corbyn, who was a good friend of mine for many years, when he turned around to me and said some things, I thought, you're talking out your head, you're talking nutcase. You're talking like a loony. And I remember people saying, oh, you know, they're talking about microchipping people. And I thought, oh, what are you talking about? Microchipping people? Now, last week, the Advanced Defense Research Project of the United States American Defense Department, they published, and it was broadcast, it was published on the Daily Mail, on the Independent newspaper, the even carried a thing on the BBC. CBS News did a 60-minute program about it, where DARPA produced a liquid microchip that's been injected into their own soldiers, their own sailors, in order supposedly to eradicate COVID-19 from the face of the earth. That's how mad these people are. And the way they do it is, this chip is inserted into your body, or the body of soldiers, or sailors, and then it detects a case. Well, possibly. It detects a case. Hours before it becomes an illness. Of course, an illness and a case is two different things. SARS-CoV-2, according to the WHO, is a virus. Viruses do not necessarily make you ill. Our bodies have many viruses in them. We have, for 90% of us, for example, have the herpes virus in us. Only when our immune system is compromised does the herpes virus express itself, for example, in a cold sore on your mouth. But 90% of us carry this virus. Now, how many of us carry the SARS-CoV-2 virus? Well, over the last year, probably, my estimate would be, at least 50% of the population in Britain have had this virus. Now, because some people are recording this for YouTube, and I was banned for life from YouTube 2 weeks ago, I'm aware that I have to censor what I say to you, even in the open air and Speaker's Corner, if I want these two channels, which have got a fair number of views on them, to watch. So that shows how even the most basic rights of free speech are being eradicated and snuffed out by the technological drive of the system itself, automatically creating the most tyrannical forms of dictatorial control over the censorship of information. So that what at Speaker's Corner, what would have been passed off without anybody even asking whether it should be censored or restricted, now becomes restricted. The one place with Britain where we're officially allowed to speak, it is actually the only place which the law says you have the right to speak here by default. It's an area that covers from here up until about where the ice cream van is, and then up until there. This area is where we won the right to protest. It's where we won the right to speak. It's where we won the right to organise. It's where we won the right to vote. It's where we won the right for women to vote. It is hallowed ground. It is sacred territory for the British masses. And therefore we have to defend it. And defending it means organising, mobilising, protecting, and getting up yourselves. I know from 35 years at Speaker's Corner, not many people get up and speak. You know, I've got Christian friends, I've got Muslim friends, I've got flat earth friends, I've got Israel, pro-Israel friends, pro-Palestinian, Shia Muslim, Sunni Muslim, you name it, I know them all, and they all agree with us. They all agree that we have the right to speak, the right to demonstrate, and they all think that the way the coronavirus crisis has been handled is an absolute disgrace to humanity, and the dictatorial powers imposed upon humanity in the name of coronavirus are an utter and total outrage against the elementary decency of humanity, against love. They've attacked people falling in love. They stopped people from laughing. Only the last week have people been able to laugh again. And then you still see people wandering around the streets with masks on. Why have they got masks on? Because they live in fear. They live in fear and they live in ignorance. And there are some, you're quite right probably, there are some, particularly where I live up by Notting Hill, some of the more middle class who like to virtue signal to people how smart they are. However, it's quite obvious, and I've studied the question extensively, and it's been reported on by the WHO, by Jenny Harris from PHE England, and by the Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine, Carl Hennigan, that masks, when you wear them for more than a few minutes, they attract bacteria, they get damp, and then if someone runs past you with their jogging, and if they had coronavirus and they coughed, it would just land on your skin and disappear. But if you've got a mask on, it can land on your mask and be a little droplet. A droplet. What's that?
It gives you cancer.
What does? Well, that may well be true as well, but I'm dealing with one specific issue at the moment. I don't mind discussing that, but it's a separate issue. The issue I wanted to say was the following, was that the mask then, after a few minutes, becomes a vector of increasing the risk of transmission. Increasing the risk of transmission. Now, the problem is we have to go out to these people because they've been driven into fear. And we have to not only isolate ourselves and say we are against, but we have to keep going back to the people who we know, who we love, who we've had contact with, who we've argued with. Keep going back to them, because we are talking about the fate of humanity, and we are struggling for the basic rights of humanity against vaccine passports, against the imposition of totalitarian and nationalistic powers over the people so you can't move very far, which connected, of course, with the agenda of these psychotic individuals who say that the climate is changing, which it always is and always has, and that climate change justifies the restriction of people's travel rights and also justifies isolating nature from man. And you might know they wheel out all these people. The one they wheeled out all the time is David Attenborough. David Attenborough the other day, he made statements which are totally insane. Totally insane. He said humanity is a danger to the planet. What an utter pile of nonsense. Humanity is part of nature.
Proper stuff, mate. That's a bottle and a half,
The gentleman here says they want to wipe out humanity in the name of climate change. I think what they want to do is to seize control over humanity. It's those people who've got control over finance, those people in organisations, and who's got control over big tech, and got control over pharma, between and over the climate change agenda, all the companies associated with wind farms and all the, carbon trading and net zero campaigning and all this sort of thing. There's a whole network of international NGOs, like the World Wildlife Fund, there's World Economic Forum, non-governmental financial organisations, you've got Greenpeace, you name it, one of these Oxfam, all these organisations that claim to be, woolly, liberal things defending the people. They are not. They are corporate institutions organised on a global scale to have massive lobbying impact on the internet and therefore to shape opinion and to drive opinion towards their own direction. And that's what we've seen is a takeover by these companies in the last year off the entire agenda of the world. That's the reality of it. And yes, there are these lunatics like Klaus Schwab from the World Economic, or the founder of the World Economic Forum, who wants to drive the world towards this direction. And Bill Gates, through his influence over the financing both of news media and of pharmaceutical industry and research associated with it, has again been able to channel the entire direction of the lobbying structure towards his objectives. And that basically means that power has been lost by the masses. Power has been lost by some big companies as well. The airline industry and some of them, they've lost out. But overall, what we've had is a massive power grab by these tech companies, by pharma, and their associated scientific institutions. And the danger is this, is that every time they declare a so-called new strain, or a so-called new crisis associated with some climatic condition. There was a piece in the news today, I don't know if you saw it, completely mad. And what he said was, he said, because the ice sheets are melting, when doesn't an ice melt in the sun? Because the ice sheets are melting in the summer, it's shifting the whole balance of the earth out of tilt. What a lot of fucking nonsense. Absolute and complete nonsense. And yet they can come out with this crap and try and pass it off to the population as science. For example, I said in my injunction against the Metropolitan Police that police officers before the 24th of July last year did not wear masks. Now they're wandering around like muppets wearing masks all the time. Undermining their health. And if you look at the statistics, the number of officers who came down ill in the first period from March until May last year was one died, and he had comorbidities. But in the last period, when they were wearing masks all the time, many of them died, right? Why did they die? Because the masks is what caused their infection. That's the most likely explanation for what happened. And of course, now there's the Daily Express covered a story today, because the scientists know this. They've studied it, they've researched it, they know fully well that the masks are vectors of transmission. But of course you can't change the position overnight, because you've already pushed in this direction. You've already got companies being paid billions for it. That's what the whole Cummings saga's about. Once the machine gets going, it's like mobilising an army for war. Once you send the fleet in, you can't just say withdraw them now. There never was weapons of mass destruction. You have to keep on with the charade. And that's what's happened. They begin with a story. They start financing people to promote that story. They all get a vested interest in promoting that story. They've all told you, do this, do that, do this, do that. And as soon as you point out is incorrect, well, they would be kings with no clothes. Like for my sins, I made a vociferous appeal for a 3-week general strike on the 8th of March last year. After a few weeks, I realised that what was being done was total and absolute insanity. And therefore, I quite honestly tell you, I was completely wrong at the beginning of this crisis. I thought SARS-CoV-2 was a new virus. The reality is, the leading epidemiologist in China, by the name of Zhu Nanshan, he's the most famous person in China, apart from the leader of the country. He wrote a report in 2013, published on the website of Cornell University website. And in there he explains that in China, despite what was said, SARS, the original one, that was said to have appeared in 2003 and disappeared in 2004, still exists in China, or existed in China in 2010, amongst children born after 2005. So in other words, what we most likely have with so-called SARS-CoV-2 is a mutation of the original SARS virus. And therefore, the conclusion should be drawn, or at least investigated. It's very easy to do. The easiest thing in the world is to do these tests. All they need to do is go to the samples of blood that have been preserved properly, or to the samples of sputum or mucus that have been preserved properly, from 2000 until today, or to 2019, and see if they test positive for SARS-CoV-2 or for SARS. And if they test positive, or some of them test positive, then we know where the virus that they say is SARS-CoV-2 and unique came from. The point is this: 80% of the population, according to the Tübingen University study published in the peer-reviewed journal Nature, 80% of the population in their blood before 2019 had immunity to SARS-CoV-2. They tested the blood samples from 2010 to 2017, and they found 81% mounted effective T-cell response. That's cells called lymphocytes that attack infected cells. So they look and they see, does this look similar to a previous virus you've had? And then they say, well, that looks like HN43, or that looks like NL63, which you've had when you were a child in all likelihood. And therefore it moves in and it kills the cells in 81% of people. Therefore, the conclusion is inevitable, and it's been proposed by Sukari Bhakti, for example, a former professor at Mainz University, one of the leading microbiologists in the world. And he said 80% of the population or more have always had immunity to SARS-CoV-2 virus and the disease it can cause called COVID-19. And therefore, this was the big flaw from the beginning. The false claim that there is no prior immunity to SARS-CoV-2. If you know that there is prior immunity to a disease, then you can determine that group of people who are liable or susceptible to that disease, and you can protect those people. That is all that needed to be done all along. And I understand there are people who think differently about the whole virus story and so on. Some people thought it was made of work. This is what I've studied. This is what I've learned by intensively studying as many thousands of documents over the last year. Literally thousands of peer-reviewed documents and research documents on these questions over the last year. I've spent my whole frigging year doing that. Yeah? So what do we do to get out of this crisis? Firstly, a revolution, I think, is in order, but how do we get to the point of revolution? I fully agree that basically... Sorry? What's that? Gentleman says, keep doing what we're doing now with bigger numbers. I agree, but I've been in a couple of revolutions. I was in Tiananmen Square in 1989. I was on the Berlin Wall at the time the Berlin Wall fell. I lived in East Germany at that time. I was doing underground work in East Germany. And my experience is this, that ultimately, all revolutions, the transition from peaceful protest to revolution occurs when the structure of the state begins to break apart. In other words, when the police and the army begin to split. To be honest with you, one of the reasons why the police are backing off now was because the mood changed, and the mood did change at the Sarah Everard event. It was accidental. History expresses itself in accidents. Accidents are the normal method by which the discovery or the turnaround in events happens. And it was an accident. Some of the newspapers and so on and the police blamed me, and they blamed Piers Corbyn. They said, oh, they should have arrested Piers Corbyn and his entourage before they got near the Sarah Everard event, because somehow Piers Corbyn with his aura and me with my views can somehow turn the whole mood of a population. Well, that's the type of ideas of the psychotic policeman. They look at everything around them. You know, they turn around and say to us, we are conspiracy theorists. But how can a policeman operate? How do the police operate unless they investigate conspiracies? That's what they do all day long. That's their job. Who conspired with who to do what? That's their job. That's what they do. So the idea that conspiracy theories are external to the normal reality of the society we live in is bizarre. And then you look at Dominic Cummings' exchanges with Boris Johnson. It's quite clear that the government is involved in multiple conspiracies. Multiple conspiracies. It's indisputable. They're involved in organising conspiracies. One, to conceal the truth about what has happened over the last year. 2, to do that on an international scale with all the other muppets in government around the world who've done the same thing. Pressured by Big Pharma and Big Tech to carry out these insane lockdowns and to reorganise the economy to serve the interests of the ruling elites in the world. And our task, yes, our task, if you like, there's only so that's it, got it. So our task effectively is to gain an understanding of the reality, is to explain those realities consistently again and again and again. I know it's fucking difficult. My mother took the Pfizer vaccine. She didn't want to take it. And my sister came down ill, went to hospital, she got scared, so she took the Pfizer vaccine. Then she took the second Pfizer vaccine, and these fuckers, they call it your vaccine. I've had about 15 messages from my doctor saying, come for your vaccine. It's got your name on it. I said to them, there's 230 vaccines for coronavirus in the world. 230. Why is that one my one? You know, if I went to Primark one day and I bought a pair of shoes, doesn't mean the next time that they can send me a message saying, your shoes have arrived. I said, well, what size are they? What colour are they? Do they fit me? Will they suit me? Surely it's for me to decide what I put on my feet and what I put in my body. My mother turns around and she refers now to the Pfizer vaccine as that poison they gave me. Now, many people have received the vaccine. As far as I know, about 50% have come down with some sort of symptoms, headache generally, or fevers. Very, very large numbers, and that was in the AstraZeneca trials and also in the Pfizer trials, that they announced that about 50% will come down with some reactions. Now, not death or something, but some reactions. Now, given the fact that those people feel insecure now, they've had the vaccine, they've done it in front of a camera, they put a fucking little thing on Facebook and said, oh, I've had the vaccine, I've protected everyone, all the rest of it. But that itself is a sign of insecurity. It's a sign that they're not certain what they're doing. They haven't studied even the trials. You see, these are the people, I mean, I'm sad to say, as someone who's been like a left-winger all my life, I'm sad to say that almost everyone I know who claims to be a Marxist or a socialist, almost everyone, there are wonderful exceptions, almost all of them have turned on me like I'm so, accused me of being a right-wing conspiracy theorist in line with Tommy Robinson and so on, which is completely insane. But that's how these people respond. The only explanation I can give for that is that most of these people are of the middle classes. They tend to be sort of intellectuals. In other words, they think they're intellectuals. They've got a degree from university. And they tend to work in the public sector. And the public sector always produces a Stalinist-type mentality, a bureaucrat's mentality. And so rather than studying the details of the trials of the thing they're about to inject in themselves, what they do is they accept what the government says. So in other words, they bow down and say, scientists have said this, therefore it's true. Well, anyone who accepts that type of psychology would have fitted in perfectly well in Nazi Germany. Because in Nazi Germany, they also claimed to be following what the latest ideas were in the world. Sorry. You're quite right. The BMA has always had an upper stratum. I mean, we only got the... You know, everyone goes, oh, praise the NHS, clap for the NHS. In order, you know, if you've got a friend, and you really love and respect that friend, you tell them when they got bad breath, right? You tell them, fucking hell, you're a bit smelly out of your arms today, mate, have a wash. You know, we're going to go out, people might... You tell them when they're rude to people. Because that's how you build up a relationship of trust and friendship with them. You do not turn around to the NHS and they say, love the NHS, love the NHS, love the NHS, when the NHS has been misused by the bureaucrats in command of the NHS, and a load of people working in the NHS know very well that's why. I better not say it because I'm being videoed, but that's why certain attitudes towards the vaccine exist amongst medical staff that also exist amongst people here. So I try to avoid saying directly because it will get cut off from YouTube. As I was banned 2 weeks ago from YouTube for life, which means I cannot even look at YouTube. If I go in through my normal account, I cannot even look at anything on YouTube. It's fucking insane, right? And this gentleman here, the reason why this gentleman here did a video recording, some of you might have seen it, he's Jim Spectrum. He did a video recording of a woman by the name of Emma Birchley. And she works for Sky News. And on one of these Kill the Bill demos a couple of weeks ago, she was there with her film crew pushing people against the police. Pushing people against the police. I wrote, reporting what his video had shown, to Cressida Dick. She wrote back saying, oh, I'm sure our police will investigate. Next day I was cut off YouTube. You know, that's the way I'm not saying there was a conspiracy. No, I don't dare say such a thing. But it's a bit of a coincidence, you know, a happy coincidence for them. Now, where was it? Oh, right, how do we achieve a guy said revolution? I still haven't answered the thing about revolution. What is a revolution? Go on.
How do you teach something without
Is that bad again?
agenda linked to it? That's pretty hard.
It is hard. We start from basics, right? We start from basics about what we are as human beings. What brings us together here? What brings us together is a sense that something is wrong. Everything is wrong with what's happened in the last year. And you know, you need to get together with all those who realise that, and who want to meet other people, and who recognise that normal intercommunication is superior to psychotic intercommunication based on what they call fucking distancing, masking, and all this other stuff, all the other psychotic behaviour they've imposed on us, like we're in some sort of mental asylum. And we are in a mental asylum. The world has become one gigantic mental asylum, with all the restrictions and impositions on the mental patients. And the people, of course, there was a study in the 1960s by a famous sociologist called Goffman, and it was about madness. And he went into the hospital and he discovered that even sane people, if you put them in a mental asylum for a week or two, behave the same way as the people who are mentally ill. So that's how it is. That's why we've got these people with all the visors and the masks and all the rest of it. Because mental illness, well, it's part of humanity. The borderline between sanity and insanity is a very, very fine line. When we dream at night, that's what a schizophrenic feels in the daytime. The dream, the same areas of the brain are active when the skin is schizophrenic as when you dream, right? So, an interference in the psychology of the brain has been caused by some action or some experience in life that causes schizophrenia. But what has caused this insanity? A global insanity controlling the whole of the world. Well, it's, if you like, a lack of humanity, a lack of combination. Probably, this is just speculative on the spur of the moment, probably produced by the emergence of the internet as a sort of psychotic relationship between human beings. So our relations became mediated through machines rather than with each other as we are now. We began to mediate everything through machines. And as that began to conquer, it opened the door to some kind of, to the algorithms to drive us even further towards madness. And then for the machinery of the state, which is a bureaucratic machine like an army, to be set in motion and then become an unstoppable train. And that, I think, is what has basically happened. How do we stop the train? That really is a difficult question, and it is about combination, organisation, and what I must say also is, despite, as I said, as a lefty, I've been standing up. I'm a Marxist. I run the fucking Karl Marx walking tour. You can't get much more Marxist than me. But Karl Marx was all about the working class, and I noticed that it is actually the working class, and in particular the black working class, who are in support, even though in Notting Hill, the black working class, a lot of the older ones are wearing masks and looking like they're in fear. But at the same time, when you talk to them, the majority of them are in agreement with you. And amongst the working classes in Britain, and the white working class as well, the overwhelming majority, my guess is the overwhelming majority are sympathetic to what we are saying, are sympathetic towards us. So it's a question of going out and winning them and explaining to them. And my opinion at the moment, the easiest mechanism to do that is the mask, because it's the weakest argument they've got. The very weakest argument is the mask, right? There is no medical benefit to the mask at all, outside of a clinical environment. And therefore, what I've done here is, this box is full of exemption certificates. Now, I know most of you won't be wearing masks, so if you take one of these, or several of these, or a box of these, I've got 7,000 of them in the box here. If you pass them out to people, that could be, if you see, you can't unthink not wearing a mask, right? You can't unthink it. So,
yeah, come and get your bits of exemption tickets, people.
There's about 200 in the box here, so take 100 or 50 or something like that, and give them to others. Give them outside the tube stations, give them outside the bus. Sure.
Look at that.
Sure, great.
Well done, all
So
people.
that's a step forward. The other step, obviously, 6th of May, we're asking you to vote for Piers Corbyn, and for myself in the area here, that's a political campaign. It's true that were we to win that election, of course, which looks unlikely given the polls and all the rest of the crap, but if we were to win in one city in the world, that would change the world. We only need one city. One city to turn and to say we will not abide, we will not obey, we will not comply.
We are the people.
And we are the people, we are the power, we are the 99%, which is fine, great.
Stand up.
But the working class, of course, is organised in trade unions. In the unions are controlled by bureaucrats. It's those fuckers, to be fair, whether you agree with Jeremy Corbyn or not, at the beginning he stood for something different. And he was known as someone who stood up for his basic principles. It didn't take long for him to destroy him. And to be fair to Piers Corbyn, I've known him now for 20 years and more. He's never given in to any pressure to drop his ideas, even though they're not considered trendy or they're attacked by the mainstream. And that is a sign of integrity. That's a sign of honesty. That's a sign of determination. Even if you're wrong, you stand by your ideas until you're really proven wrong. That is how a human being should act. Until they're certain they're wrong, they should stick by their values, their ideas, their beliefs, and campaign for them. Now, what does that mean in the unions? It means we really have to transform the trade unions. Get into the trade unions. Get involved in them. Turn around, for example, in the workplaces and say, the workers don't want to wear fucking masks either. All day long it's uncomfortable for them. So you go to them, do you know that if you carry this, you can say to your employer, I don't want to wear a mask. If they try and sack them, then the workers can come out and strike and organise. It's little conflicts like that that create the foundation for an explosive transformation in the balance of forces on these issues. An example of that was when the Sarah Everard event happened. Shortly after that, there were demonstrations suddenly by all these people wearing masks saying they're against this police bill. Of course, they don't realise the police bill is only a tiny component of what is happening in a totality, which all of you do. Unlike those people, you've got to step way further than them and understood that this is a global socio-economic crisis that we have to deal with and answer. And revolution, after all, is always and only the awakening of the people to their condition and the realisation that they can no longer tolerate the way things are and the rulers are unable to rule in the old way. A revolution is an awakening where the weakness of the existing order is exposed and where therefore we can struggle and we'll have advances and retreats over the next few years. And it will be a few years this will last. But it doesn't mean they will be successful, because the ruling class themselves are split. One country fights another. The elites in one country fight another. Dominic Cummings now fights against Boris Johnson. And so that will bring up more conflict inside the establishment. And when they are weak inside, when they have conflicts inside the establishment, that is when we can advance. You see, why are we here today? Not being attacked as we were a few weeks ago. And we were here, and the police were coming in troop formations, lining up there, hundreds of them. And Willsey, who's not here at the moment, he went in GB Resistance channel, he went in behind them, and you might have seen the video. And the cops, the senior command were there, and he turned around to them, because they were all in uniform, all with their batons, all with the riot gear on, charging across the fucking park like the Battle of Waterloo, against us lot. And then they were marching forward, marching backwards, we charged backwards, and then the senior copper got them together, he goes, come on, come on, come on, got them all together, and he goes, this is a kick-ass big fucking park. There's no way we can deal with them. We got to de-escalate, and that's when they de-escalated. So transition points will happen. This is a transition point, because here we are unmolested by the elites. So what we need to do, because like last week here, I don't know if you knew, it was barely reported, there was about 50,000 kids here last Saturday, all smoking dope sitting in the park. The police walking around they were horses originally, then they fucked off. So it's all about balance of power, balance of forces. If we have sufficient people in London coming to the park here every week, occupying the park during the summer, bringing out music and discussions, bringing debates in Speaker's Corner, which is our territory. We won against the establishment in 1854 in huge riots which took place here. There was a parliamentary inquiry at the time. I've got the bloody book off eBay. It's 600 pages. Unlike the fucking Everett report, written only by police officers, they interviewed the people on the ground. This is also what we need to do. We need reports by all of you who've been harassed, who've been arrested, who've been charged, who've been threatened. We need reports by all of you about what has happened over the last year. We need to create a memory of the people for our children and our children's children about this year of madness and how we rose up and how we mobilized and how in 1 or 2 or 3 years we ended the entire system that produced this madness. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take a break. If any of you like, we got the election campaign now for Let London Live.
Sam,
Whether you live in London or not, you can help us. And we haven't had resources. Social media's been cut off. The TV have not covered us at all. Nothing. The newspapers have blockaded us. So no information has gone out, even though you're supposed to. Can I just ask you one little thing? So if you agree with what I've been saying, and you're like... Any of you who are interested, you can send me a message now with your email in it. So I'll give you a number now. Anyone who's interested, pull out your phone and send me a message now. Yeah? With your name and your email, and then I can get in contact later on after this, and we can coordinate some of the activities. This megaphone, for example, I got for 60 quid. I was trying to set up all these amplifiers and stuff today. They all fucking failed except for this. But this megaphone you can plug in your car, and if you drive around town with this megaphone, you make pre-recordings and play things. So you can record something from the internet and play it, or you can also play music and then speak through it. And it literally can be heard if you're driving down the street. It can be heard right away to those trees over there. So the street just turns around. And what I've noticed, if I'm playing music and I've got my whole car decorated with vote Corbyn, blah, 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 vote Piers Corbyn for mayor and so on. When you go down the street, if you play music, like I was playing David Bowie, Let's Dance the other day. If you play music, then everyone starts dancing because we've had a fucking year where you can't dance. So everybody just starts dancing automatically. So it's little discreet things. Hand them a thing about the mask, they can't unthink it. Could I use that? You can't unthink it. It's like, you know, go to the toilet, you know what I mean? You can't unthink it. So what I'm asking for is, if you you got a telephone, send a message to the following number: 07722 523 629. That's my number, yeah? 07722 523 629. Yeah? I just send your name and your email, and I'll get in contact with Hyde. My name's Heiko, Heiko Koo. Heiko, H-E-I-K-O. H-E-I-K-O. 07722
Resistance, love. He wants you to get involved.
523 629. Same for you on the online. 07722 523 629 for Jim's gang as well. I mean, you know, it's just simple mechanisms, isn't it? We have to do what we can by the most minimal things. The South Africans are involved in the struggle against apartheid. And when we struggled against apartheid, we organised meetings and rallies and demonstrations. The South African youth mobilised.
Oh, yeah, I see you. Let us know if anything's on in the week. Anytime you want to charge, you know where I am. So.
They're brutal at mine. They're just brutal. They break through.
We've got the drums over there at some point, but police are moving in over there. See him over there? You zoom in? You already had him. Yeah, there's something going on over there, mate. I realise that.
I don't get that comment.
They're not the real deal anyway, but not really. The drummers are over here. Oh, that's just the drummers.
Yeah, it's that big crowd.
Yeah, the police station's It takes me a while to get there.
If you are vaccinated, your immune system goes down, which is why a lot of black people
It's had the bridge kicked off, didn't it?
are not accepting the vaccine.
No, when you went there, you kicked off, didn't you? Oh, you're right. You going Dover?
So, guys, next on remain.
Not at the moment, but yeah.
3-8 for me, isn't it? Yeah.
Guys, from another thing.
When there's a lot of people
Your immune systems are being smashed up by the vaccine. So that means the population as a whole, those who are vaccinated are ready.
Did you see the video? Not be, but Andy and Nick.
But now, what do you mean? Nothing about it.
No, he's called them out, isn't he? Nick Crusader.
He's here somewhere.
He was here, yeah.
I don't know, but I try and stay away from it. The bullshit politics.
Yeah.
I'm here to preacher, and I want to get the message out. Half this shit, I'm not interested. I tell you, I'm an everyone.
Yeah.
The thing is, some people, when they start going on YouTube, they get really big in their brain. You've got to fucking know that kind of bit. It's just a fucking impact.
Why are they trying to survive?
Because the YouTube.
Doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. No.
If I'm going to talk shit online, I'll talk in person.
Yeah.
I
want to find out who the John Overkill is.
Oh man.
He's done a video on me saying I keep getting arrested and I'm part of the DFLA.
Oh my God.
He also said people who wear goggle jackets about the far right and they're trying to spread their left-hand movement. And then 2 weeks later he found a load of Asians in Bradford who were wearing goggle jackets. And that's sort of just strange, isn't it? He went on goggle jackets again, but in one far right it was just goggle jackets.
Yeah.
That means I'm doing the movement.
What about all these roadblocks that are every area?
I've been doing you want to lose a little bit back on control. I'll put a nice though in, I'll put a second 55 in.
I'll let you kick off here later.
Okay, so shall we end with a jungle?
The problem is we got the lights
Hey, dude.
I'm feeling like I want to keep breaking free. Loving, how do you do back there as well, behind me? Loving it, guys. This is what we need. Strength and levels, energy, good vibration. It's unstoppable, am I right? Come on. Let's just break free, Anna. Let's break free. Let's break free together. Guys, thanks for all your support. DriveForFreedom.com. As you know, tour of mine is we travel around the UK. We stopped there a few days ago. Alright, let's break through whenever you're ready, guys. Thanks, Dave, for joining us. Give up for Dave! Woo! Love you, Dave! Okay, Ali, can you pull the app back a little bit? Brilliant, how are you? Resistance GB on the frontier as usual. Guys, can we give up for the independent journalists? Please. And all the independent bloggers and Instagrammers and everyone just putting their lives and careers on the line and mental health and the stress for just saying the truth. You guys are true warriors. Never stop. And this is a reward for you. This live music is to give you a celebration, get you all together, because you deserve it. Love you guys. You're absolute champions. This one's by Queen. I want to hear you guys sing this with me as well. This is our good stuff. Yes, guys, come on. It's strange. It's strange, but it's true. Hey!
YouTube, everyone calls you a nusser if you watch YouTube. Blind man who knows a lot. Any ideas? There we go. How you guys doing? You guys okay for moves and stuff? Okay?
Keep it pointing that way.
Immortal aliens up in here. Let London live, Mr. Pierce, Google Mayor to end all lockdowns, big up Immortal aliens. They want them, they love the exemption card, they love the exemption cards.
Okay, let's keep going, guys. Guys, if you have some information, there were 750,000 people here today. The biggest ones are part in the back. And so it's even better, there was only one left. Right there. Shows you the power we have, guys, to be in the ones that are in truth. BBC says 200 apparently. Alright, you got it? Yeah? Alright, let's go, guys. Just do the show down. what a beautiful donkey. Beginning of summer, beginning of going back to do whatever you like. And then the cycling Andy cars is incredible. Okay, you ready? Thank you for your help, Rachel. We need to dance all night.
Manchester for a weekend a couple of weeks ago, so let's take it to Manchester. Oh, I got no issues, thank you. Beautiful. We've got a harmonica or something. Amazing. Give me a mic. You can use the mic inside the drum here. Is it in the right key? Okay, I'm just going to adjust this mic to the harmonica player. There we go. Hold it nice and close. Beautiful. What's your name, sir? Alright guys, give it up for Mr. Paul McLeish. On the harmonica today. Beautiful. Beautiful. Doesn't that sound nice? Oliver on guitar. Over here. This man today. On the guitar back here as well. Okay, let's take it to Manchester. Alan? Can you move over here so I can see you a bit? Oh, you got your pedals, haven't you? Alright, let's go to Manchester, guys. Whenever you're ready, Alan, let's start that again.
Give it up for Mr. McQueen's here on the harmonica. Okay, we're going to have a special guest come up. This song will... Okay. Alright, we're going to have a special guest come up here. How you guys doing, by the way? Yeah? Is Hyde Park still absolutely packed? Yeah? Good stuff. You guys all want drinks? All feeling hydrated? That's good. I'm okay for a beer. I'm on the water, man. I've been touring non-stop for 3 weeks. I'm not that rock and roll. Alright guys, can I introduce to you now Darren?
How are you? Good?
Darren from Manchester. I think you might have sung one of his songs a few times at this rally.
Good evening, freedom fighters! What an amazing day! Estimates between 300,000 and 800,000 people out in the streets of London, marching and standing for freedom and the right to live life as we choose. Give yourselves a huge round of applause! We've heard this song a few times today, I'm sure. Let's give it one last rousing blast as the sun goes down. You can stick your new world order up your ass. You can stick your new world order up your ass. You can stick your new world order where the sun goes shine but also stick your new world order up your ass. keep expanding it. Let's get the word out to every single other people. Let's get 6 million people here by the end of this summer. Guys, give up for Gordon! What a great moment. I thought we were going to work together at Manchester, and we're taking it to the next level by coming to the capital. That was incredible. Guys, you're absolute legends. We're going to keep going, we're going to open up the jam later on, and then we'll get some musicians up, okay?
Best gigs I've ever done on protest.
Alan, why don't you, okay, we're just loading the amps up over the, one second, guys. Oliver.
Arrest Prince Andrew! Dirty fucking
We are the 19, we are the 99%. Come on, London.
Yes, Oliver! Wait, brought some Bob Marley, mate!
Where's Piers? Where's Piers Corbett? Oh, some Nick Hatcher. That's the guy that I was talking about. Hey, bro. Who do you work for, mate? Video. Myself. You work for the government? No, this is fucking now. Big found out about this food. Oi, thoughts on Boris Johnson, mate? Thoughts on Boris Johnson? Thoughts on Boris Johnson? I'm lying, he can suck his mum. Boris Johnson! Boris Johnson can suck his mum. I won't say anything like it. Yeah, on the down low, on the little hand over there.
Yeah, and you, and I'll give you a shout next time.
Alright guys, I'm going to end the stream here. Thanks everyone for joining and staying on. There is a few people that are still live, so I'm going to send you over to Immortal Aliens, who is live streaming right now, somewhere in the thick of it all. Big thank you to everyone who donated to the stream today, to the channel.
Maybe they don't take that.
Thank you very much. And also thank you to all the new subscribers. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon for notifications when you, so you know when I'm live again. Yeah, big thank you to everyone who donated, and a big thank you to my mods who kept the channel nice and clean. And I'll see you for the next one, guys. Maybe we'll live tomorrow. A few people have been saying some stuff happening, so
Where'd you put this stuff?
we'll have a yeah.